I've always loved superheroes. From the first time I saw Spider-Man back when I was 6 years old, something about it drew me into the world of Peter Parker so well. Growing up, I watched every movie, and it was incredibly comforting for me to have a fictional character who represented me. The shy, awkward, nerdy kid without much friends, a human being who made mistakes and learned from them again and again. And at the end of the day, persevered through this, bestowing a great message that I've always carried.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I've lived by that line my whole life. It shaped my choices and the way I view things, but we're not here to talk about Spider-Man. This year, Marvel Studios have done something really special. They released a movie that introduced me to a brand new world, culture, ideals, and morals, all whilst crafting an emotionally complex, rich, and layered story that I believe will go down as one of the greats. Let's talk about why I loved Ryan Coogler's Black Panther. The Marvel formula is often criticized for playing it safe and relying too heavily on setups for future movies rather than standing on its own identity. And this is definitely the case in some movies they have made. Black Panther takes a fine line between following the structure of a superhero movie, but layering it with such rich and unique storytelling elements. What I've noticed recently is that a fresh perspective can give you new experiences with familiar content. That's part of why I also love The Big Sick, despite that movie sharing many similarities with other romantic comedies. It was the fresh and honest perspective from the creative team that made it great. In Black Panther, we're given a lot of commentary on things like slavery and colonialism, with the added political edge of something like Game of Thrones. Aside from having all these modern elements and questions added to the movie, what it also adds in is a classic Shakespearean tragedy between two characters. Shakespeare is perhaps the most influential writer of all time, and there are definitely elements of his work in here. Betrayal, traditionalism, and loyalty are major themes of Black Panther's story, and we can talk about that more with Step into the spotlight. Aside from T'Challa, what makes a story great is all the other characters around the main protagonist. So here's what I loved about those. Eric Killmonger is not like your general Marvel villain. Like the formula used for storytelling and what I've discussed in other videos, Marvel tends to get a bad rep for having their villains not be as well developed as their heroes. That is not the case with Eric Killmonger. Michael B. Jordan elevates the character with such emotional intensity and steals every scene he's a part of. He gives T'Challa an antagonist that challenges his morals, his identity, and his actions, as well as being a great character in his own right. Someone who felt betrayed and will do whatever it takes to rebuild Wakanda in his own vision. Whilst that may sound familiar, Killmonger elevates it beyond simple evildoing and creates a character who broke my heart on screen. I would put him up there with other great comic book movie villains like the Joker, Doc Ock, or Magneto. The side characters also elevate T'Challa whilst having their own arcs and goals to follow. Every character in this movie gets a moment. T'Challa's sister Shuri, especially, is a rare case for me of a comic relief character that didn't get on my nerves every time they spoke. She had her own strengths, character flaws, and as much ambition as her brother. Okoye and Nakia, played by Dania Guerrera and Lupita Nyong'o, also both get their own arcs which are beautifully realized on screen. Along with Shuri, they are tough women who can kick a lot of ass, but that's not all they have going for them. Like T'Challa, Okoye struggles in this movie between the tradition of her duties and the horrible reality she must face. Martin Freeman's Everett Ross also gets an upgrade from his debut in Civil War, elevating his character from a stuck-up CIA agent to a true friend and loyal ally of T'Challa's goals in this movie. And it was great to see him get to do more this time. But what did I leave this movie with? We can talk about that regarding the The main question I think Black Panther asks is, do you live up to a legend or surpass it? The message of T'Challa's main story in this movie centers around tradition versus progression. His character feels like he can't become a great leader like his father, and without spoiling anything, he begins to understand in this movie that a great leader, much like the difference between good and evil, isn't about black or white. Often there are many shades of grey. What matters is the message you take from an inspirational figure, not idolizing them to the point they can't be flawed, interesting characters who don't make mistakes. Killmonger wants progress and uses violent methods to get it. T'Challa wants to be a great leader and has to step out of his comfort zone and break from traditions he assumed were sacred to protect his country. Because the movie's still in theaters, I can't go further about why I loved the final shot, especially of this movie, so all I'll say is that's another video. What I took away from Black Panther was a layered character piece about a good man balancing the need to live up to his family and be a great leader in his own right. The story of what happens when someone believes their rights have been forcibly taken from them and no control of their own. How far will you go to reclaim what belongs to you and have your voice heard? Black Panther takes all of these and gives the African American community a superhero they can see themselves in and aspire to be like, along with many well-developed side characters given as much attention as our main protagonist. For many young children, T'Challa will be their hero, and I believe everyone, no matter who you are or where you're from, deserves to see that they too can be a hero. And that, my friends, is why I loved Black Panther.